parking deck collapses.
We have one man that's under a parking structure, a crush injury.
And a mile away, at the very same moment, an apartment complex caves in.
I remember breaking down and crying. I wasn't ready to die.
People trapped everywhere.
We've been hit with a major earthquake.
It's 4:31 a.m., January 17th, 1994. Centered in the Northridge section of Los Angeles, California, 20 miles north of downtown, it all happened so fast. In 7 terrifying seconds, nature unleashes its fury.
The first thing I heard was a loud explosion. Everything started to shake real violently.
Most of the residents at the Northridge Meadows apartments, including Steve Langdon, are at home when the quake rattles them out of their beds.
The only thing I could think about was trying to get either under something or get to the doorway. I took a couple steps and there was a dresser that was against the wall. It hit me in the chest and it knocked me back down.
Firefighter Mike Henry on the overnight at the firehouse is jolted out of his sleep.
It was such a ferocious sound. My initial thought was we had a bomb had hit the fire station.
He and his crew head out immediately to assess the damage. And when they get to the Northridge Meadows apartments, everything looks fine to him.
The people that were out in the street said that the building was collapsed. And we shined a light on the building and it looked like it was fine.
Henry doesn't know it yet, but the building is anything but fine. Steve Langdon, whose apartment is on the first floor, is laying face down on his mattress, still struggling to get to his feet.
I couldn't figure out what was on top of my head because I couldn't get it off of me. I was trapped.
When firefighter Mike Henry and his team discover just what's pinning Steve Langdon and others trapped on the first floor of the apartment complex, it'll trigger a massive rescue effort. But at the moment, all seems quiet at the Meadows, at least to the rescuers, so Henry and his crew continue on, looking for victims. Meanwhile, only a mile away, another team of rescuers is trying to reach Salvador Pena.
Big beam, concrete beam, came right across his legs. He's still down there, he's conscious, he's talking, but his legs are completely crushed. He says that his legs, like you can hear him moaning right now.
Pena is on the first floor of a mall parking deck, operating his sweeping truck when the quake strikes. And now the entire concrete structure is on top of him.
We have no idea if we'll even come close to getting to it.
Firefighter Ray Lavalle struggles through the mangled metal and busted concrete to make contact with the victim.
He's holding his own. His legs are trapped, about mid-femur there. Still trapped quarters. Definitely a lot of pain. The whole time he's getting me out of here. I just conversed with him best I could, try to give him some hope.
But others aren't as hopeful. The victim is pinned very deep under the pile of rubble, and it'll take a huge effort to get just one man out, using resources rescuers could use on more people in other places. Lavalle and his team get together to decide what to do.
As we're huddling, we're listening to this guy just screaming and hollering. It's just, that's nothing I ever felt before. It's like, almost like a wounded animal. I mean, you're going like, we're not supposed to leave people like that. The captain there just said, we're going to get this guy out.
So Lavalle's team of 14 men begin the task of unearthing the buried maintenance worker. Across town, firefighter Mike Henry has made his way back to the Meadows apartment complex, and again, residents insist to him the building has collapsed.
Everything looked fine, and we told them the same thing.
But then right as Henry is about to drive away for the second time with his fire truck, a man in the distance, clawing at the base of the building, catches his eye.
I stopped the rig, got out, went over and asked him, what are you doing? He said, there's somebody trapped under the building. I kind of thought this guy might be a little nuts.
Even though Henry can clearly see the building is standing, he decides to step back and compare it with another section of the L-shaped structure.
I saw the first floor balcony or the second floor balconies kind of line up and the third floor balconies line up, and I went to the roof line, and all of a sudden the roof jumps up 8 feet. Then it dawned on me, this building is collapsed and a whole floor is pancaked. That kind of hit me like a ton of bricks.
Henry starts to do the math in his head. 50 apartments on the first floor. In a worst-case scenario, he thinks there could be 100 people trapped. His mind races, knowing he's about to become part of a tremendous rescue effort. And at the parking deck, their attempt to save one man is moving along slowly. Firefighter Ray LaValle continues to talk to the victim and is able to get him an oxygen mask. But now, nearly 4 hours into the ordeal, Salvador Pena is losing hope.
As more time wore on, it was more like, come down and pray with me, come down and cry with me. We were never able to give him anything for his pain. So that was always there. That was bad.
But rescuers are making progress. And by now, the operation at the apartment complex is in full swing. Mike Henry has been cutting through the second floor to access what was the first floor.
It's an eerie feeling to know that I might be right on top of this person and I don't want to hit him. So be very careful about how deep I set the saw down into the material.
Henry's been hacking away for 2 hours and is physically and emotionally spent. He had just been searching for a little boy, and when he finds him, it isn't good news. After reporting the boy's death to his mother, Henry needs a moment to pull himself together. But that brief break is interrupted by an excited fire department volunteer.
He came running over, and we were the closest ones. He says, hey, there's somebody talking to us.
Steve Langdon has finally managed to attract some attention with the help of his roommate, Jerry, who has a hearing impairment and is also trapped in his bedroom right next to Steve's.
My head was against the mattress, so my voice was really muffled. Jerry had a hard time hearing me because he didn't have his hearing aid on. So I became Jerry's ears and he became my voice.
Firefighter Henry grabs his gear and along with his crew starts tearing away at the building. They reach Steve's roommate first.
Oh, that sky looks beautiful.
Steve is now counting the long minutes until they come back for him.
Right by that window. I think there was more aftershocks, and I could still hear the building settling.
Now the rescuers slice deeper into the building, trying to free Steve, and not a moment too soon.
I had 5 fractured ribs, and I had a collapsed lung, and I had almost a quart of blood in my lung. That later they told me that I was probably within 20 to 30 minutes of drowning in my own blood.
Almost 6 hours after he was trapped under the rubble, Steve is carried out of the building.
I just remember seeing all these people. I mean, not anybody I knew. There were just people, cameras. I remember people taking pictures, people yelling.
Not long after Steve's rescue, there's another reason to celebrate, this time at the mall.
This is Rescue 104. We can transport to Trauma Center.
After 8 grueling hours of breaking up and removing debris from around the trapped man, they're able to lift Salvador Pena out of the hole in the ground.
I'm pretty ecstatic. I mean, considering, just look at this place and you just know that it's a miracle, actually. It's a miracle.
But there is some grim news. 57 people died from the Northridge earthquake, 16 of them at the Meadows apartment complex. It caused more than $20 billion in damage, making it the costliest earthquake in U.S. history. Steve Langdon says those hours of being trapped alone, not knowing if he'd make it out alive, changed him forever.
This kind of event made me realize that today is the only day I have. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I just think it's important for people to realize how precious their time here is.